Hi, I'm Agnes.
And I'm Natalie.
We're friends.
And co-workers.
And this is our podcast, Dinner Last Night. Nat and I share a passion for food and events.
And over 35 years of combined experience in the hospitality industry.
So pour yourself a glass of wine.
Or whiskey.
And join us while we share our adventures in home cooking, entertaining.
And of course, what we made for dinner last night. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dinner Last Night. Today's episode is actually going to be the last in our 3-part series on Thanksgiving. So today we're going to talk all about what you can do with all of those Thanksgiving leftovers that I'm sure you have. But first, Agnes, what did you make for dinner last night?
Hi, Nat. Welcome, everyone, to episode 7. Last night, Nat, was Halloween. So I did not cook last night. We had a gathering of neighbors. Had them at our house for pizza. So it was 8 adults and 8 kids, or 7 kids. No, 7 kids, 8 adults. I set 2 different tables. I asked my friend to bring a salad. She had made this beautiful salad with candied pecans, apple. I think there was some cheddar cheese maybe in it too, and some spring mix. Maybe I think it was maybe a balsamic vinaigrette. It was very delicious. We ordered pizza. We did all pizza takeout, and then we went trick-or-treating, and then we actually ended up at our neighbor's house up the streets, and they had set this really nice little fire on their driveway with chairs around. And this other friend of mine had made some vodka Moscow mules in the original, the glasses. Do they have a name? Those like copper tins? I don't know.
I think they're called mules.
Mules, yep. So we were all out there, it was pretty cold, but we were all out there by the fire with our mules. And it was such a lovely evening to do that, to start at somebody's house and then end at somebody else's house. And it was it was a lot of fun. But I don't know if you remember, but last week I told you I was going to make this, during the week, that I was going to make this Thai chicken peanut soup.
Mm-hmm.
It's a recipe from a Half-Baked Harvest, which I just discovered her maybe a couple weeks ago. And I had looked through her books and through her website. And I tried it. It was really good. We'll post pictures. It was really good, but it was a little too sweet for us. It had the broth had coconut milk, chicken stock, some soy sauce, some fish sauce, but it also had like roasted red peppers and honey and peanut butter. And I think those 3, in addition to the chicken and to the spinach that you add to it, it was just like way, way, way too sweet. So if I do it again, because I like the recipe, if I do it again, I'll just won't put in the honey, I think, and probably not the roasted red pepper, because they really don't belong.
You'd almost be better off with just like fresh red pepper.
Yeah.
Did it have like lime or anything?
It did have lime. It did have some lime juice.
Okay, I was gonna say
that you put at the end. However, I really like that the recipe, when you pull it online on her website, it gives you the guidance for pressure cooking and for stovetop. So I found that was really, really, it was so easy. You put everything, like your raw chicken breast and everything in the pressure cooker, and then set it for, it was a really minimal amount of time. But I like that there's the options for the 2, And then I also made the blueberry cornmeal pancakes on Wednesday. That's a New York Times cooking recipe, and it's incredible. I didn't have any, what is it called? Buttermilk. I was out of buttermilk. So I just did the trick of, using regular milk with lemon juice, and that worked really well. I can't remember the exact ratio. I think it's a tablespoon of lemon juice for each cup of milk that you have to use.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I did. It was really good.
That sounds good.
How about you? What did you make last night?
So I will tell you in one second, but when you were talking about the Moscow mules, it reminded me of something that I meant to tell you actually like a couple weeks ago, and then meant to tell you again the week after, and I forgot. But so remember how you were talking about for Thanksgiving last year, you made mulled wine?
Yes.
So I have to tell you. So I think what you meant to say is mulled wine.
Yes. There are people who are gonna be listening to the episode and thinks, "She doesn't know what she's saying. What is mulled wine?"
I
But it's
know,
mulled
it's
wine,
mulled wine.
mulled wine. I'll never get it.
I knew what you were talking about, and
I mean,
I
I appreciate the
heard.
feedback. It's only, like, 3 weeks late, you know?
Well, what reminded me, like, last week is that you mentioned it again, and I wanted to interject and say something, but you were really excitedly talking about something, so I just let it go and was like, "Maybe no one will notice."
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, mulled wine.
She was such it was so exciting. So, yeah, we did dessert at her house, and she made vodka Moscow Mule and also bourbon Moscow Mule. So she had the 2,
Mm.
like, option available, and, oh, it was so good.
Yeah, so as you know, I am not a big drinker of clear liquors, but I
Mhm.
do love a Moscow Mule because I love ginger beer, and
Yeah. But I'm glad yeah, thanks for correcting my English. It's just, 3 weeks late or 4 weeks. Yeah, I can remember. Well, I really like and we can post that recipe for that mulled wine. Mulled wine. It's good. You put, like I had put everything in the slow cooker. We put, like, orange zest, star anise,
Mhm.
cardamom, cinnamon sticks.
Yeah.
I feel like you put honey too, something like that, or maybe orange juice. I can't remember. There's some really good recipe, but Alton Brown is the one with the best recipe for that,
Yeah.
the easiest one.
Yeah,
So
so
we'll share that recipe.
no, for sure. That's a really good, holiday drink. Remember I had
Yeah.
said before I went to, like, a German school, so
Mhm.
the mothers committee at all of, like, the Christmas concerts and that Christmas bazaar and stuff would always
Mhm.
serve mulled wine, and in
Yeah.
German, it's called Glühwein. Um,
Glühwein.
yeah, but I think it's something they drink too, like, after skiing, you know?
Yep, that's exactly when we drink it normally in France, but
Yeah.
it makes the house smell so good, and then if you're looking for a glass to serve, you just use mason jars because the mason jar can handle the temperature. It's the
Yeah.
best way because you want to look at it, right? Like, it's nice if it's garnished with things.
Mhm. Yeah.
So what did you make for dinner last
So
night?
so I think last week I had mentioned I was gonna try that New York Times cooking salmon fried rice recipe, so I made that,
Mhm.
and it was delish. So, one night I made, like, pork carnitas tacos. I think you did too,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Um,
Yeah,
so
Tuesday I made, it was pork carnitas, and then I roasted some, pineapple for it and made the sriracha mayo. It was good.
yeah. Oh, that's right, you made al pastor. So
Mhm.
I think on Tuesday or Wednesday, I made pork carnitas tacos, and then I had leftover whenever I make, like, pulled or shredded meat like that, I always, like, reserve some because my
Yep.
favorite thing to do with that actually, more than, like, the tacos themselves or, like, enchiladas or whatever I'm making the meat for, is to then use the leftovers the next day to make a burrito bowl because I love burrito bowls more than burritos. You'll never see me order a burrito because I just think
It's
they're
too
too
big.
messy, and, the way that
Too
they're, like
messy.
yeah, the way that they're built a lot of the time too, you're not getting, like, a good bite most of the time.
Yeah, I don't even think I've ever had a burrito, ever.
Really?
It feels like they're too big and messy. I've never ordered one.
Yeah, but I love burrito bowls because you can put so many things,
Mhm.
and then you can build your own perfect bite. So I
Mhm.
made a really good burrito bowl with the leftover pork, some rice. I have so I'm not like a huge coleslaw person because I'm not really a big mayo person. I think that's why.
Mhm.
But I have a slaw that I make for whenever I'm having, like, tacos or something like that with Napa cabbage, and it's really simple. I just made it up one day. It's Napa cabbage, sour cream, lime juice, and then you chop up the adobo, chili, right,
Mhm.
which is, like, the where you get that, like, really chipotle, smoky taste, and then if you want, you don't need to, but if you want, you can, like, dice up cilantro. I know you wouldn't, but into there, and then you mix it all up, and it is so good, this slaw. So I had it with a slaw. I made, like I roasted some sweet potatoes because I had some leftovers and mixed them with black beans and some, like, cotija cheese. I had some leftover guac from the tacos, and I had leftover pickled radishes from the tacos. So it was just this awesome, beautiful, like colorful bowl. And what's great about like a burrito bowl, right, is you don't need a lot of the leftover of the protein if you have a lot of like other things with it that have like so much flavor and texture and all of that. So we had that burrito bowl better than the
It's
tacos.
yeah, it's a good way to put a lot of vegetables
Hmm.
into to
Yeah.
add a lot of vegetables into your meal, so
Yeah. Yeah, and then actually so I didn't make dinner last night either because, as you said, it was
it was
Halloween,
Halloween.
but this morning I made so I had a real craving, the weather's been really miserable and, like,
Mhm,
rainy, and the temperature's really starting to drop now, so I was craving, congee, but I woke up this morning and really didn't feel like taking the time to make congee. Congee is really
mhm,
easy to make, but it just, like, takes time, to make it, to get it to the consistency that you want and have, like, the ginger really, like, infuse the flavor and everything. But then I remembered a few years back, I had found a recipe for, like, a savory oatmeal congee where
mhm,
you cook oatmeal as you would cook oatmeal, but you treat it as if it's congee. So you cook it in like some chicken stock and water instead of like milk. You use chicken stock, some water, you put some ginger. I put like the whites of like scallions in there, some fish
mhm,
sauce, some soy sauce, and then you just cook the oatmeal as you would. And I wanted to put on top and then I, like, soft boiled some eggs, so I had a soft boiled
mhm,
egg on top, and then I wanted to put some, like, bacon for, like, crunch, but when I looked in the fridge, I realized I didn't have any bacon, but I did have some yummy, like, deli sliced, like, honey ham, so I
mhm,
fried those till they were crispy, and then I sliced them up and sprinkled that on top, and then put a little bit of, like, furikake, which is, like, a Japanese, like, nori and sesame seed, like, mix, and some more scallions, drizzled some sesame oil, and then the last thing I put on was this kind of like it's called, like, Daddy Mix Chili Crunch, but
mhm.
it's just this I don't know, I got it at, like, a Filipino grocery store once. It's basically like a chili garlic crunch, like, tiny little bits, um, fried till they're crunchy, and you just I put it as a topping on all kinds of things, fried rice, mashed potatoes, but it's really good.
Big protein bowl here.
Yes, so it was the most delicious really, it was kind of brunch, it was a late breakfast, um, but it was so good, so tasty, and it had all of the flavors of, like, a congee, it just was made with oatmeal, so it was
No, I
delicious.
just wanted to say I didn't know what congee was until about a year ago when we started serving it at work.
Oh, yeah.
So, do you wanna tell everybody what it is?
So congee is this very typical you'll see it in all kinds of, Asian cuisines, especially, like, Chinese and Southeast Asian, they all have, like, different versions of it. Filipinos also have a different version of it, but congee usually refers to, like, the Chinese style of congee, and it's basically a rice porridge. You, like, cook
Mhm,
rice down until it's it's so soft, like, it still has some shape, but it's very brothy, and it's so soft that, like, you don't have to chew it, right? You can eat it almost like soup, and then traditionally, like, a Chinese congee will have, like, ginger, scallions, and then some kind of protein in it, sometimes fish or, like, pork, that kind of thing. Yeah, what's great about congee is the brothiness of it, right? Just has so much flavor from, like, the ginger, and if you make it with, like, chicken stock or that kind of thing, because it's
mhm.
cooked for so long, that you don't really need to add a lot to it, but you can also add all kinds of things to it. So
Just like you did today.
yeah, it's one of those things where, you'll have a plain bowl of congee and then many toppings. So, like, thousand-year-old egg is a really popular thing,
Mm.
that people put in. What
And it's a
else?
breakfast item? It's a
Mhm.
breakfast item? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's usually served as, like, a breakfast thing, although you can eat it really any time of day or night. But it's just this really nice, savory, and very, very cheap, delicious meal. And, yeah, you can just add in whatever you want, basically. There's no rules with congee.
I have to try
Yeah.
to make it.
So, yeah, so that's a lot of what I made this week was actually with just, like, leftover things. Which is perfect because this episode we're going to be talking about some ideas for what to make with your Thanksgiving leftovers.
Right. Do you normally have a lot of leftovers? I mean, I'm sure given that you make enough food for 35 and it's 8 of you.
Yes, I always have a lot of leftovers, but as you know, I never make a turkey, so
Right.
I have made things with, like, turkey leftovers before, so I don't know, I feel like the first thing we should tackle, though, is the turkey because I think that's often what people have the most leftover of, but it's also
Mhm.
the thing that you can get the most tired of if you have to eat it.
Right. So I think, whenever we have turkey leftovers, which is it's not incredible amount, it really isn't.
Mhm,
But a lot of times the next day, Joe loves to and Owen, they love to eat the turkey on a sandwich, right? I think that's the first phase for the turkey to make it into a sandwich. So I don't know if I told you, I may have mentioned it in the past episodes. I make house-made Parker house rolls and
mhm,
they're so soft and so tiny, almost like slide aside. So I know the day after Thanksgiving, I usually make those little sandwiches, like a little mayo, some flaky salt, and just the turkey, and they eat a couple of those, and then they really love that. The other thing that I like to make with it is soup, just a chicken noodle soup, with the leftover turkey, especially because I will still have plenty of chicken broth available, given that I make big batches ahead of time. So that's a good way to use it. And I think the last one, and I've never made it before, but I've been meaning to do it, but it's to make buy a couple of extra of pie crust, right?
mhm,
When Thanksgiving comes, to buy them, right? Don't make that pie crust because the day after Thanksgiving or in the couple of days after Thanksgiving, you're not gonna want to make like pie crust from scratch. But it's to make like leftovers empanadas where you would put some mashed potatoes with whatever kind of mashed potatoes, whether it's the sweet mash or regular mash, or I make the truffle mash with a little parsley, and then put some turkey and make empanadas with the pie crust. Put them in the oven, 400 degrees for like 12 minutes, and then eat it with the cranberry sauce. And I've
mhm,
been meaning to do that for the past couple of years. I'm going to do it this year.
for sure.
But it's a good way to use, especially if you have like some of the dark, I guess white or dark meats left.
Mhm,
But I feel like it feels different. I feel like the boys don't really want to sit at the table, in the couple of days after Thanksgiving. They'll eat, we'll watch TV or we'll eat at the bar.
yeah.
So that's a good way to use that. But I'm sure you have plenty of like proteins left, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lots of proteins. I've also done, turkey noodle soup, though, with leftover, turkey. You know what works really well too in, soup, if you have leftovers, after Thanksgiving, are Brussels sprouts. They
Oh.
Yeah, so if you especially if you like cabbage soups and things like that, but they have such a stronger flavor than cabbage, and because you like, maybe roasted them or something like that, right? They've already kind of cooked down, so they in the soup, they really become, like, so soft, but they have such a, like, strong flavor too.
Yeah, I love strong greens in soup,
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
kale or cabbage or things like that. Yeah,
yeah.
awesome.
Brussels
That's such
sprouts
a good idea.
works really well. Yeah, one of my favorite things to make with any leftovers, actually. I really enjoy cooking with leftovers, first of all, because I feel like it takes like a lot of pressure off because most of the time if you're cooking with leftovers, I think you're automatically forcing yourself to be more creative, right? And maybe
Mhm.
not follow a recipe, which means you're also not constricting yourself to like this turning out to be this beautiful thing, right? That you have this picture of
Mhm.
or whatever, right? It's kind of this grand experiment in like, let me see what I can turn this into. So I love cooking with leftovers, and one of the things that I love making with any kind of leftovers, but it works really well after Thanksgiving because you probably already have all of the components to make it, is any kind of hash. And you can make it the
Yep.
great thing about hash, right, is you can use any meat. So you can use leftover turkey, leftover ham, leftover beef if you made some kind of beef, whatever leftover potatoes, you can make a hash with, yellow potatoes with sweet potatoes. And you can even repurpose your Brussels sprouts again, right? If you just like kind of
Yep.
cut them down. Yeah, and I love a good hash because and I kind of think they are better when made with leftovers because You start that in your pan first to get all the fat, like, kind of, like, rendered out into the pan, and then you're just, like, reheating everything. It's so great, and
Right.
then you fry an egg, put it on top. You can serve it with your leftover cranberry sauce, whatever you want.
It's so funny you said that because, I make a stuffing that is, that has, the apples, dry cranberries, and Italian sausage in it, and that's one of the first thing that I will do for one of the brunches during Thanksgiving weekend is to reheat that stuffing in a cast iron pan as if it was hash brown or not hash brown, but the hash, and
Mhm,
then put a fried eggs on it, and then, like,
mhm.
let the egg melt all over it, and
Yeah.
I love doing that. But, yeah, you can put in turkey, yeah.
You can put in whatever, yeah. Yeah, hashes are great, and they're great because you can also eat them for any meal. They're good
That's
for
true.
breakfast, for brunch, lunch, dinner, hearty enough and filling enough that they work for any meal.
You can really use any protein for that.
Mhm. Yeah, anything you want. Just chop up some onions in there too maybe, or, like, shallots or whatever you have. I know, hashes are a genius thing. One other thing I've made before with leftover potatoes, so I feel like people have a lot of end up having a lot of leftover potatoes, but it kind
Mhm.
of depends on, like, how you prepared them, what you can do with them. So one
Right.
thing I've made before, I used to always make I have this go-to recipe for it's like roasted potatoes and Brussels sprouts with bacon and shallots, and super simple recipe. The sort of trick is that you, like, toss it all in this kind of, mustardy, like, vinaigrette a little bit before you roast it, and so that then, and you roast the bacon a little bit ahead so that you get, like, the bacon fat in the pan.
Right.
So everything gets this nice, like, sweet taste too from, like, the Dijon. So what I've done with that before, though, is I have turned that into, like, a really quick, like, potato salad the next day where, I might make sort of like a dressing. Sometimes I'll add, like, golden raisins in or, like, sliced almonds or pine nuts, and then you just make, like, a quick dressing with, like, some mustard usually, vinegar, sort of like a German potato
A
salad would.
German potato salad, yeah.
The great thing about that is you can, like, eat it cold or warm, but it takes so little because all of the main components are already cooked. You're just, like, redressing it, adding some crunch in, right, with some nuts or
Yeah.
something like that.
Maybe,
Uh
adding some brightness with, like, fresh herbs. I
Mhm.
feel like
Yeah,
dill
dill,
or
yeah.
even, parsley are good to have on hand, I think, to handle your
Mhm.
leftovers.
And then the other thing, though, that I think leftover mashed potatoes probably leave the most room for, like, creativity, though, when you're cooking them because, presumably you already have this lovely, like, creamy mash, right? So there's
Mhm.
so many things you can do with that, though, because it's now already taken on an entirely different consistency, right? So one thing you can make is also just, like, Duchess potatoes,
Right.
which is essentially just like a twice baked, like, mashed and then baked again, right? So
Yeah.
that
So do you scoop them and put them in the oven? Is that what you would do? You would scoop the mash, put them on the baking sheet, and then put them in the oven?
to make like a Duchess, well, so
Yeah.
you could do, like,
Or you
individual
pipe
ones
them?
in, like, a muffin
Yeah.
tin or something like that, but Duchess potatoes, I think the reason that they're so fluffy is that you also, like, incorporate egg yolk into it.
Eggs.
Egg
Yep.
yolk and, like, cream, and then or
Gotcha.
you could just, like, do it in, like, a whole casserole, right? And then pop it in the oven. Yeah, and then it takes on, like, a whole 'nother sort of like a twice baked potato does. It gets, like, real fluffy. Yeah, so you can do Duchess potatoes, but you can also, with leftover mash, make things like potato pancakes. You can make
Yeah.
croquettes. I've seen recipes for gnocchi made with leftover mashed potatoes. That
Oh,
I
that's
think
interesting.
depends on, like, what the mashed potato was flavored with, how you prepared your mash.
Yeah, I'm wondering because, like, when you make gnocchis, normally you mash potatoes and then you add flour to it,
Mhm.
but I guess you would add flour then to your mashed potato. Yeah, I guess
Mm,
that could work, right?
yeah, and then, I think the British are not generally known for their cuisine, however, they
Shepherd's pie.
really know potatoes. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can use them on top of a shepherd's pie, but you can also make bubble and squeak, which is a really British thing. Do you know what bubble and squeak is?
No, what is it?
So Bubble and Squeak is generally it's a British dish, and it's usually made with any kind of leftover vegetables that you have. So I've had it with like cabbage or like kale or even carrots, things like that. And you take your leftover veggies, you kind of cut them all down so they're similar size, almost like shredded sort of or chopped. And then mashed potato acts as the binder for those things. So it's almost like making a frittata, but instead of egg, you use mashed potato as your binder.
Oh,
So
wow.
in your pan, you kind of fry everything so that it starts to brown and crisp, whatever vegetables you're using, onions, that kind of thing. And then you put the layer of mash over it, and you just keep patting it down in the
Mhm.
pan so that the whole thing browns almost like a big pancake. And then you flip it over, and that's Bubble and Squeak. And I think
That
it's
sounds
called that
awesome.
because of the sound that it make as it's cooking. I think because I believe maybe traditionally it was made with, like, cabbage and maybe some leftover you can put, like, leftover meat in it too. So if you, like, made a ham for Thanksgiving, that would
Mhm.
be really good in, like, Bubble and Squeak. But yeah, Bubble and Squeak.
Would you add an egg to the potatoes or no?
You don't add it when you're cooking it, but you can serve it it's often served with eggs, like fried egg or, like,
Mhm.
over easy, that kinda thing. And then another mashed potato dish that I like to make around St. Patty's Day is colcannon, which is an Irish mashed potato recipe,
Mhm.
and that usually has cabbage. Most of the recipes I've seen, you just blanch the cabbage, or you cook it lightly, and then you make mashed potatoes, and then you mix them up, like, pretty heavily. So you end up with this, sort of very heavily textured, mashed potato. So that works well too with mash leftovers because the mash is already made. The hardest part is done. But you can do
Mhm.
whole cannon with other vegetables too. I think it's just traditionally cabbage. But yeah, that's really good too with, like, leftover, if you're just eating your leftover turkey as is, or your leftover ham or whatever pork,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. You can do so much with them.
You can do so much.
The hard part is already done, like cooking the
Yeah.
potatoes and, like,
I'm
getting them to a nice consistency.
I'm wondering if you can freeze leftover. See, I'm always wondering what freeze well and what doesn't freeze well
Yeah.
with the meal. I don't know if mashed potatoes will freeze well.
I guess well, I think that things with a lot of fat in them tend to freeze well. That's why you can, like,
Right.
freeze your sticks of butter, you can freeze milk. So I
Mhm.
wonder, since I mean, presuming you used a lot of butter in your mashed potatoes or, like, cream or that kinda thing,
Mhm.
it might freeze pretty well. I just would wonder about
Reheating.
texture of the potato.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably would have to be mindful how you reheat it so that the texture doesn't get weird. Like, maybe if you were making croquettes or something like that, that's definitely something you could, like, shape and then freeze ahead of time because you're already gonna, like, fry it.
Even gnocchi then, you can
Mhm.
make them and then freeze them.
Yeah. Or, you can always just eat your leftover mash the next day because mashed potatoes are delicious.
They are delicious. I think the
What
hardest thing to find things to do with is if I make green beans. It's so
mm.
hard, I think. Other than just you can add them to the hash, but it really is it doesn't do too well.
So, you know what you can do? I mean, this doesn't use up a lot of green beans, but you can use green beans, especially if you've cooked them so that they still have, like, some crunch, right? They're not overcooked. You can slice them up like you would scallions and use them in, like, a fried rice or like a noodle stir fry or something like that. I've
Oh,
done that
that's a good
before.
idea.
Done that before with green beans. Or you don't even have to slice them that small. You could also just slice them into, I don't know, like half-inch pieces and put them into some kind of like stir fry or fried rice. But I've even used raw green beans that way before in a fried rice because they have such, like, crunch. But yeah, it doesn't use up that many. What else could you use green beans for? You could probably toss them into, like, a potato salad though or something like that.
Yeah.
They
Well,
might be
that's
nice.
probably why if I have to have something green on the table, maybe Brussels sprouts is just a better idea.
It's true, it's
It
true.
converts better.
Yeah, yeah, but green beans have such a nice texture. They have such a nice, like, snap and crunch. So I think you could definitely use the leftovers, you just would have to think I think you would have to think about using them for their crunch, because they definitely would get soggy if you just, like, reheated them. But if
Yeah.
you were taking them, like, out of the fridge and slicing them, right?
Maybe in
Um
a burrito bowl. You can make a
Mhm.
burrito bowl, the green beans, the turkey, and maybe
Yeah,
some other elements.
yeah, no, for sure.
But I like the idea of the potato salad too. Like if you had leftover roasted potatoes, just like we talked about,
Mhm,
put it into a salad, add dill,
mhm.
make like kind of like a German potato salad, but with adding the green beans. I think that would work well.
Yeah, and then it would have, like, a really nice texture because if you're
Yeah.
using, like, roasted potatoes, you have a little bit of texture there, but then the green beans would really give it crunch.
And it would look pretty.
Mhm. Yeah, it would look nice. Isn't there a French salad that has green beans? Is it niçoise?
Yeah, niçoise as potatoes, tuna, green beans, anchovies sometimes, black olives. It has tomatoes. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Sometimes hard-boiled eggs.
Mhm. That's
I
right.
think there's a debate out there as to whether or not potatoes belong in the salad, but, you know. There's a lot of debate as to what's traditional, like, the same remember we're talking about, potato gratins. Same thing, there's debates out there as to whether or not cheese or onions belong into the gratin, or if that's a completely different there's a lot of debates as to what's traditional, what's not traditional.
Onions belong everywhere because they are the most delicious thing. You know what else you could do with green beans? Because they're such, like, a nice, like, I think they're, like, the perfect size for this. You could slice them, like, really thin, but, like, on a bias, so you get a really long piece, right? Instead of, like,
Mhm. Chopping.
yeah, you're almost slicing them what is it, like, almost like slicing the cross section, but a little bit on a
Mhm.
bias, so you get real nice
Mhm.
long strips, and you could use that in, like, salads or something like that.
Mm.
Or you could use them in, like, a slaw even
Yeah.
because they have that shape and crunch. That might be nice. So, I think well, I don't for me for me, I don't have problems ever using this leftover, but I imagine that maybe other people might wonder what they can do with leftover cranberry sauce. There's also so many different first of all, people make their cranberry sauce differently, and some people don't make it at all. They get the jelly kind, right?
Mhm.
So depending on what kind you have, there's like different things you could do with that. But cranberry sauce is my favorite part about Thanksgiving. So I have developed many ways to use cranberry sauce. So the number one is like obviously if you're making a hash, put
Yeah,
some
to eat it
cranberry
with it.
sauce with that,
Yep.
obviously. But also it works really well with like frittata, which again, if you're using your Thanksgiving leftovers, then that's a perfect pairing. I find that cranberry sauce goes really, really well with ham because ham is kind of sweet and salty a lot of the time, and cranberry sauce is sweet and sour. So you're like combining, it's almost like the same premise behind like a Hawaiian pizza, right? It's like
Right?
salty, sour, all together. So like anything with ham or even just like a ham and cheese sandwich, spread some cranberry sauce with that.
Yeah, I was to say, like, in the sandwich, that's a
Mhm,
good one, even if you wanna mix it, with add a little mayo to spread it.
mhm,
But yeah, that's a good one. I don't remember my cranberry sauce didn't really make it to the table until the end of dinner
mhm.
last year, and it was gelatinous. I don't remember what happened to it afterwards. I have no recollection. Yeah, I don't think I do a good job with reusing my cranberry sauce, that's for sure.
Mm.
I feel like
So
I'll leave it in the fridge for a while because I'm like, "There's so much sugar in it, I think
mhm,
it's okay." And then I end up, like, not really using it. But I feel like it would be good with, like, duck, things like
mhm,
that
yeah.
too. Yeah.
I think like a really rich, like fatty,
Yeah.
meat, it's good
Even
with
lamb. I feel like it would go good with lamb
lime.
because lamb is so, like, strong.
Yeah, in the same way that, like, pomegranates are good with lamb because they have such a like, tart, flavor. But you know what's, I think would work well with a more gelatinous cranberry sauce is you could also make kind of like oatmeal breakfast bars. Anything that you would bake where I think you that calls for, like, jelly or jam. So, you know what I'm talking about? It's almost like a
Yep.
streusel, but, like, it bakes into, like, a bar and you cut it up and it's got a layer of, like, usually some kind of, like, berry preserves. You could use
Yeah.
cranberry for that, and that would be nice because if in that application, it would be, like, quite tart, but usually those, like, streusel toppings are really sweet, right, with a lot of brown sugar and nuts and that kinda thing. You could
Mhm.
do it what if you made one with, like, pecans? Really keeping with the fall flavors
For
there,
the
that would
fall
be good.
theme. That
Mhm.
sounds good.
Yeah. The other thing too is if you like Swedish meatballs and you, eat Swedish
Oh,
meatballs with that IKEA, like,
hello,
lingonberry,
IKEA, yeah.
you can just replace the lingonberry jam with cranberry sauce. That works really well.
Perfect. Oh, it's so good, yeah, and you have mashed potatoes.
Mhm.
You can make those little
You can
meatballs,
just make the
those little
meatball.
Swedish meatball,
Yeah.
mashed potatoes, your cranberry sauce.
Mhm.
Boom.
Yeah. You could also if you have a cranberry sauce that's more, like, syrupy, you could
Mhm.
also just put it in with, like, yogurt and granola in the morning or
Yeah,
oatmeal. I think it would work well in oatmeal. That j one, I think it just depends on, like, the texture of cranberry sauce that you end up with. For that, though, I think you really have to like the taste of cranberries because that's
yeah,
really gonna be what comes through there. What else? You could make cranberry maple syrup, which then you could keep and just use, like, through the holidays on, like, pancakes, things like that, and I don't think this would use up a lot of cranberry sauce, because I don't think you would need a whole lot to flavor your syrup. But you could definitely do that. Just heat up some syrup, put in some of the cranberry sauce, all the flavors sort of blend. Yeah, and then I was looking online too for more things you could do with cranberry sauce, and I found all of these cool ideas, like using it as a glaze for grilled meat
yeah,
on lamb would be really, really good.
yeah,
Yeah, I think the stronger flavored meats could handle like that kind of like sweetness and tartness really well. I also saw somebody had an idea to put a little bit into barbecue sauce,
yeah.
which I think that would work, especially if you like a more like tangy vinegary barbecue sauce.
Yeah, I looked online for some ideas and recipes. The New York Times cooking app actually has this whole section, like 35 recipes and what to make with your Thanksgiving leftovers.
Mhm,
And one of them is I guess, a pulled turkey barbecue with coleslaw sandwich,
mhm.
right? So I feel like that would be good to make like a barbecue sauce with
Yeah.
that. Yeah, because sometimes barbecue sauce have like maybe peaches,
Mhm,
or they have like another like or soy sauce, or they have
yeah.
this other element, this fruit element that
Mhm.
goes with that really customize the sauce. So that would be good.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking is I wonder if you could maybe and maybe this is a crazy idea, I don't know. What if you had leftover turkey and you tried to make some kind of turkey chili, and in the chili, you put some of that cranberry sauce? I feel like there's maybe something there. I don't know. Or it might be gross.
But it yeah, because how would it handle, how would it handle the long cooking temperature? It could be really good, but I
Yeah.
feel like it needs something smoky and spicy to counterpart
Yes. Yeah.
that. I don't know if it's like a chipotle or what's the other, like, counterpart to that, because the turkey won't really taste like anything once it's in the chili for
Yeah.
once it's cooked for a long time, but if there's, like, a spicy, smoky, sweet, then from the
Mhm.
cranberries and tart, that would be good.
Yeah, I think, like, with cranberry sauce, it's all about balancing it really well, right? So,
Right?
like, it works really well with meat that has really strong flavor. It works really well with mashed potatoes, I think because mashed potatoes has so much, like, fat, right? Like, really buttery,
Yeah.
but it also works really well with really sweet desserts like pound cake or even just, like, a really rich, like, high quality, like, vanilla ice cream. I think it would be
Yeah.
or maybe even on cheesecake, it might be nice.
Yeah. I mean, you've said it before, you mentioned the yogurt, like, I feel like Greek yogurt and
Mhm.
cranberry sauce is probably very, very delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, so many ideas for cranberry sauce. See?
Oh,
So
I
don't worry,
love
everyone. And if you really can't think of what to do with your leftover cranberry sauce, you can just send it over to me because I will eat all of it.
One thing that I also remember to do every year with our leftovers, I always remember to freeze the drippings from the turkey. Whatever I don't use for the gravy. And it really depends. Some year there's a lot of drippings, some year there's no drippings with the turkey.
Yeah.
But I always freeze it, and then I can reuse them in like soup or like sauces and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's a
that recipe for empanadas that told you about, it uses the turkey, the mashed potatoes, but also I just looked at my notes. It also uses some of the gravy for the
mm,
turkey. It mix
yeah,
it all up together. That's kind of like the binding agent that you put. Then you put it into the pie crust pieces.
yeah,
Yep.
that's nice. So I think there's one. So we've covered what to do with your leftover turkey,
Mhm.
what to do with your leftover potatoes, your
Mhm.
leftover cranberry sauce, your
Leftover
leftover green
greens.
beans or green
Yep.
vegetables. What about what to do with your leftover stuffing? Because I never make stuffing, but I love eating it.
Right.
What do you do with leftover stuffing?
Well, I was telling you the leftover stuffing, I use it to make kind of like a breakfast hash and
Mhm.
then, add a couple of like component to it and then fry an egg and eat it like that for brunch. That's my favorite thing to do with it.
That sounds good. So I was looking online at what you can do with leftover stuffing, and I found something amazing. And I think I might even make stuffing this year just so I can make this thing with the leftovers. It is a stuffing waffle. You make a waffle with the stuffing and then you serve it basically with all your other leftovers with like a little scoop of mashed potatoes, some cranberry sauce, some gravy, and it's like this super savory waffle of stuffing.
So hold on. Your stuffing, you put it inside, you
You put
put
it
it
in your
on
waffle maker.
rough iron?
Yeah.
Hmm. I don't know if my stuffing is like I don't know if it's has the texture that it wouldn't crumble apart. You know what I mean? Are you adding an egg or something to this?
I don't know. I'll have to check the recipe, but maybe you put some kind of binder.
Right?
Yeah. But
Or
it
maybe you
sounds
put you know what? Maybe you add well, a lot of time the stuffing has a lot of butter in
Mhm.
it already, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you add a little milk? I don't know.
Oh my
Are
gosh.
you looking it up?
I
What?
just tried to Google stuffing waffle and I accidentally wrote stuffing waggle and I got I was like, "Why am I getting all of these videos of, like, puppies?" Okay, so let's see. Oh, there's actually a lot of recipes for, leftover stuffing waffles. What does this one say? Doody doody doo. 4 cups crumbled leftover stuffing, 2 large eggs, chicken broth or turkey stock as needed, and then this one they serve with leftover cranberry sauce and leftover gravy.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so good and so easy.
Mhm, mhm.
That sounds so easy.
Yeah.
I'm writing all of these things down too.
Uh,
No, I just love it. I feel like Owen would love this because he would think that it's so clever
Mhm.
and he would be so amazed that I put something else other than waffle batter inside the waffle iron. Oh, he
Yeah.
would love that. Plus, I have one of those like Belgium waffle irons, so it's fairly deep. So I feel like
Yeah.
it could handle that.
Yeah, you
That's
would just need,
awesome.
like, 1 waffle probably, and then, like so and the nice thing about that that would be such a good, like, day after Thanksgiving brunch is, like, a stuffing waffle, because then if you had some leftover, like, pieces of turkey, you could just eat it like that with, like, some
Mhm.
cranberry sauce, some gravy, some mash if you really wanna, like, put the carbs on carbs on carbs.
Like But usually, like, how long do you normally eat your leftovers? I feel like by the end of the holiday weekend, I know like Joe is not really a big left. I think we talked about that. He doesn't really eat a lot of leftovers, right? Unless I like if I leave it in the fridge, he won't necessarily like go for it. But if we transform it the way that we've talked about during the whole episode, I feel like there's more chances. But I feel like if I try to make more Thanksgiving leftovers into the following week, he may just, like, go to the store and buy steaks. I feel like that's something that he would do, like, he would be like, "Okay, well, I'm over this. I'm
Yeah,
gonna." I
yeah.
was like he's gonna be like, "I'm gonna grill some steaks tonight, what do you think?" You know? "Yeah, no, it's gonna be, not too cold, it's a great day for, grilling today." So, yeah, that's his
No.
strategy.
Yeah, Zach is the same. He's not big on leftovers, but I think that's also why I have, like, found ways like, I'm always, like, looking for ways to repurpose the leftovers so that I can trick him to eating the
Yeah,
same thing twice, and he just
right.
doesn't realize it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure it's the same, like, I grew up in a house where we don't throw away food, so,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
you just reuse it.
Right, yeah. No, but it definitely forces you to be creative, which I think is fun. But I agree. I think you probably wanna try and, like, get through your leftovers by the end of the Thanksgiving weekend because otherwise I think everyone will just be sick of like the taste of turkey, cranberry, potatoes.
Yeah.
Also, probably just not good for your gut health to only be eating those things for like 4 days straight.
Try to throw in like a spinach salad or
Salad,
something.
yeah,
Some greens, you
some
know?
greens somewhere.
Maybe like a spinach smoothie, spinach apple smoothie, in the morning
Yeah,
just to,
to
like, clean everything up.
to reset
So
your
yeah.
microbiome.
Well, I think, our next episode will be with, someone who's expert in guiding us through the holiday season, right? And how to make the right choices.
Yes, next week's episode, we will have our very first special guest joining us, just as Anya said, to talk to us about how we can eat more mindfully over the holidays. We won't reveal to you who it is just yet, but look forward to that.
Yep.
All right, well, Agnes, I think it's probably time for our last bite.
Yes, it is time for our last bite. So, okay, do you remember last year for Christmas, you bought me, I think it was Christmas or maybe Mother's Day, or maybe my birthday. I do not recall. But over the past 6 months, you've purchased for me this book where I can record. It's a Jacques Pepin book where I can record all of my guests who are coming in the house, and I write down. It's kind of like a journal of the guests that are coming to your house over for an event or for anything. And there's a place for you to write what you made for the meal, and then the guest, and then you can add like the like bottle label if you want to. It's just almost a keepsake of all the meals you've had. And I wish I would have I had never seen this before, and I wish I would have thought of it years ago. But it's such a great idea to as a memento and a diary of all of those great meals and those great memories that you have, and remembering exactly what you've made for the people that you love. And it was such a great gift. And even if you don't want to buy a special book for it, even if it's just a place where you keep track of all that, I think you'll look back then in the years to come, and it'll make you smile, to have exactly the date and who was present. And
Yeah.
I just very, very like love that. And it's also a beautiful book, so it's right in my kitchen. And I just love it. And I recommend everybody to do that. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you liked it and that you're using it.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I don't remember. Maybe it was for your birthday. Yeah, that was a good find. I don't really remember how I found it, but I definitely, as soon as I saw it, I thought of you.
Yeah, especially if we're going to the holiday season, and maybe you may not, with the pandemic and everything happening, you may not see as many people, but you should still like remember. So
Yeah.
it's a good way to
Yeah, for
remember.
sure. Yeah, for sure. So, my last bite is really I just wanted to talk about what I believe is truly the ultimate Thanksgiving leftover dish, which I never make because we live in the wonderful land of Wawa. And Wawa, if you don't live in the tri state area, or I guess now Florida, is a chain of, I don't even know how to describe them. They're sort of like these like convenience, fast casual
Yeah,
deli, whatever.
C-store. Yeah, convenience
Store, yeah,
stores.
convenience store.
But now they're
Um,
mostly gas station, like Royal Farms and other ones like that. Yep.
yes. So they were started in Pennsylvania as a dairy, and they have, you can order sandwiches on like a little screen. But the best part about Thanksgiving is that usually around mid-October or so, Wawa starts serving a sandwich called the Gobbler. And this sandwich is truly the best combination of all of the greatest Thanksgiving things. So it is on a delicious hoagie roll, and inside is some beautifully cooked turkey, cranberry sauce, stuffing, and mashed potatoes, all in one hoagie roll. And this sandwich is so good. Every year I look forward to it. Me and one of my cousins, we actually have like an alert every year one of us lets the other know when it's gobbler time again. But say what you want about Wawa sandwiches. I do believe their quality has declined in recent years. Sorry, Wawa, still love you. The gobbler is where it is at. If you live in the tri-state area or in Florida near a Wawa, please make sure to try one and make sure so they give you the option to have it without the cranberry sauce. But you need to have the cranberry sauce. It is essential. You need something to cut all of that like super fatty. That's true carbs on carbs on carbs, 3 times carbs because it's bread, mashed potatoes, and stuffing, and then gravy too. You need that cranberry sauce. So make sure to get it with the cranberry sauce.
That is awesome, Nat. Such a good last bite.
You have to get it before gobbler time, before gobbler season is over. You have to have
When
at
does
least
it end? When does it end?
I don't know. Usually I think like after the Christmas holidays, it quietly
What
disappears again.
quietly. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that that probably concludes this week's episode, which is also the conclusion of our 3-episode series on Thanksgiving. We hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, even though it was probably different this year. Hopefully, everybody got a chance to still celebrate and maybe see family, even if it was virtually. Thank you guys all so much for listening. A reminder that if you are intrigued by any of the things we've been talking about today, like recipes or kitchen tools or wah, we post links to most of the things that we talk about on our website, dinnerlastnight.buzzsprout.com, but also in the description of the episodes on whatever podcasting platform you're listening to. So you can check all of that stuff out. As always, if you want to share your own recipes and stories, maybe you have some ideas on what to do with your Thanksgiving leftovers, particularly green beans. It seems that we got stuck a little bit there. You can let us know by leaving us a comment or sending us a message on our Instagram and Facebook at Dinner Last Night Podcast, or you can send us an email at dinnerlastnightpodcast@gmail.com. So yeah, let us know. And of course, always let us know what you made for dinner last night, though we assume that when you're listening to this, you would have made Thanksgiving dinner last night. But we definitely want to hear about it. Tell us what you made. Send us emails. Leave us comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave us a rating or a review if you'd like. It helps us. It helps other people to find the show. And we just really enjoy hearing from you. And while you're doing all of that, I know it's a long list. Don't forget to let us know what you made for dinner last night.
Bye, Nat.